Hi, everyone. I'm Summer,
I'm Carrie.
and this is Hopelexia Podcast.
Join us to talk about sex, drugs, and self improvement.
Wow.
God, it's a wonder I'm not a
Holy
psychopath.
shit! You never told me that story.
Yeah, I just
Oh,
remembered it last night. I was like, I don't think I ever told Lilith this one.
I, I,
No, you
I think we're
didn't.
demonstrating that if trauma was what created psychopathy, you would never have.
Exactly. Right,
would-
and that's the thing, right? Like
Wow.
you
Yeah.
can't make somebody be that way, right? Like
Right.
you can't rewire somebody's body so they physically feel less pain. You can't rewire somebody's body so they have, you know, less access to their emotions physically, right? I mean, this is a neurological condition, right? It is not psychological. You I mean, quite I mean, you can't create psychopathy in a person. I mean, I guess quite technically speaking, it would be sociopathy anyway if you created it, because then that means it came from the environment. I mean, just from a linguistic.
Yep, I am super pedantic all of the time. And in case any of you are wondering, yes, I do this. I am this pedantic in my own head when I'm even thinking about stuff. So
Standpoint, right? Socio
Yeah.
meaning coming from society, from the environment, right? I mean, it's a little Monty Python sketch, right? Like, society made me do it. Oh, all right, I'll go to rest them then. Right? But yeah, I mean, that's so. Oh man, this is really fucking hard to hear. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, like just like that's hard to hear that happened to anybody. You know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
you, like I personally know you. I love you. Like
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like
That's fucked up. It's
God,
fucked up. And if any of us were gonna be fucked up, it was gonna be because of stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's like the
Oh, yeah.
the straw that broke the camel's back was that night that he came home and
Yeah.
he was drunk and high on his own stuff. And
Oh shit! Do we want to explain what we? So for whatever reason, my audio's been kind of cutting out here and there. So I'm not sure. Did we talk about the chemistry information? Because if not, we
not
probably
yet,
fill
not
people
yet.
in.
So
oh, you guys are in for a really great story. This is really awesome. Swear to yes, absolutely. Hand to the gods. This is the man from whom my brother and I are descended.
Okay, well this is perfect.
yeah, so
When we say
yes.
that our dad was brilliant, dude literally woke up one day and went, you know what? I really want to be able to make my own methamphetamines. I'm going to teach myself chemistry. And he did. And like he went and became a chemist and got a job as a chemist in an actual laboratory. Like,
That is still
woke up
working
one morning-
today.
Yeah, it is still working today. We were just looking at it.
So the night before we recorded this, my brother and I were on the phone for like 3 hours, and we were like talking about some of this stuff, and we were talking about, what do we want to talk about? Are there, things we don't necessarily want to talk about? Are the things we're avoiding, which we did. Spoiler alert, there was some stuff that we actually decided that we were not going to talk about on camera. And then we ended up talking about it on camera anyway, so you guys will get to hear it. But we were on the phone. We were Googling this particular facility, which shall remain nameless. But we were actually like Googling it to see if it was still there and if it was still in operation, and it is, and it was such a trip.
It's going to remain nameless. The location will remain nameless, but
Yeah.
the chemistry laboratory is still an operational facility as we speak right this moment.
Yeah. Still in operation.
So
Yeah.
he just,
So that's
woke
When he
up and
came
said,
home
"I want
drunk
to
and
make my
high.
own meth."
Yeah, so that may have been the case. He was like, he was looking for ways to make money, and he was like, well, chemists get paid really good money, and so I'm gonna go become a chemist. And so he had built the garage in our backyard and created a little room up above the garage. It's a gigantic garage. Um, and he had study books up there, and he'd study all the time and do all this stuff. And then he went out and got this job, and he was working long hours at this chemistry laboratory. And come to find out later that he was moonlighting and making his own drugs at the laboratory. And so one night he comes home, and at this point he had been making really good money and started like bringing home gifts for the kids and stuff. Like he brought us home a Sega Genesis a couple of months before this, and so we had a Sega, and we were like, "This is cool. We got a Sega,
Lucky he got a Sega.
man, and we're playing video games, and this is great." So life seemed like it was being better. There wasn't so much conflict. He wasn't doing the kind of crazy sadistic shit that he normally did. Along the lines of, "Hey, you boys are acting up. Why don't you guys go lay down on the floor right next to each other? And I'm going to go grab this leather strop that we have just hanging up next to the kitchen, and I'm going to start snapping it like the old leather belts." But this thing was, it was 2 layers for as like a barber strap for their razor blades, and he'd snap it and make us, think that he's going to come over and whip the shit out of us. And sometimes he would, and some.
So there's a couple things here that I want to, I don't want to step over. This is a really awful, awful story that my brother's about to tell, or is in the middle of telling, I guess. But one of the things that I wanted to point out is that he was talking about how our father, he was doing well. He was making money. He was going to work. He wasn't being as awful. And I really, really, really want to highlight how these things kind of go in patterns, right? And how part of what keeps people there in these relationships, and we'll hear more about how his mother dealt with this stuff, but part of the reason that people in general, right, stay with people when they're enduring these kinds of abuse. I mean, aside from just, there's a couple of, obviously there's the like, holy shit, I'm terrified of this person, I'm afraid to leave. There's also the, holy crap, I didn't know this was even a thing, and you're blindsided by it. But part of the cycle of why people end up, staying often as long as they do, is that there are these, they'll go in cycles, and it depends on the person, but it's usually anywhere between, 6 months to 2 years. It's usually around 18 months or so is when things kind of start breaking down. And you can often, you can see when people like this, like you can see in their employment history that they won't have jobs for longer than 2 years, right? Like because they'll be doing really, really well, and then they'll get fired every, 18 months to 2 years or so. So I didn't want to step over that, where he was talking about how, there was this cycle where everything looked good, right? Like he was gainfully employed. He was gainfully employed in a, really, I don't know if reputable is the word I want, but he was gainfully employed in a reputable job, and he stopped being as horrible, and he stopped being as abusive, and so you think it's getting better, and then
Sometimes he'd just walk around with the threat of it and like hit the ground next to us instead of hitting us. And stuff like that, because we were being bad. I know, right? And so this one night he comes home, he's got steaks. He got New York steaks, and he's like, I'm grilling steaks. I feel like steaks. And he's got some beers, and he's outside, and he's cooking, and he brings these steaks in, and we're all sitting down at the kids' table, and he's trying to have dinner with us. He's sitting at the kids' table with us, and he's cutting up the steak for our little brother, and my little brother doesn't want to eat the fatty parts of the steak, and my dad's like, well, the fatty part's where all the flavor is, and you should eat this. And my little brother's like, no, I'm not going to eat it. So my dad cuts a piece and puts some potatoes on it and stuff like that, and he puts the fork right in front of Zach's face, and he's like, eat it. And Zach closes his mouth, as a typical 5-6-year-old will, and turns his head and goes, mm-mm, mm-mm. And my dad's like, eat it. And he starts getting really angry. And my brother's like, no, I'm not going to eat it. I don't want to eat it. So my dad takes the steak knife that he had, and he puts it right up against my little brother's belly. And he says, if you don't eat it, I'm going to stab you. And that was enough for my mom. My mom came over and grabbed the knife and disarmed him, and did this little 3-point shot back over her head, and 20 feet to the kitchen sink, and makes it in the sink, which to this day I'm like, damn, good shot. And because she wasn't even looking, she just tossed it.
Go Jan!
And pulls his chair over backwards, and she starts screaming at him, get the fuck out of my house, blah blah blah, all this other stuff.
Good
and
for her.
Exactly. And the last thing I remember ever hearing from my dad as he's walking out the door is, what are you, the Queen of Sheba? And walks out, slams the back door. And that was it. That's the last time I ever saw my dad.
Why? That's so funny.
I know, right? What are you,
Apparently, it's still funny to me because I'm still laughing about it. What are you, the Queen of Sheba? That's fucking
Queen of
amazing.
Sheba? You're like,
Ah.
I don't even get the reference.
Like, I'll go. You just kicked my ass, but I'm still gonna insult you as I'm going because fuck you.
Yeah.
Gotta get the last
Exactly.
word.
Exactly. Yeah. And then,
Exactly it.
Exactly. And so then
Oh my
from that point
Yeah.
forward, it was, we went and packed up and we went to our grandma's house. And the police came, and my mom did a restraining order, and they picked Dad up,
Well,
and they were like,
no. Becca told me. I heard that was a little bit different, and I think.
So one of the things that I want to point out here is, how oftentimes when stuff like this happens, right? People, we don't talk about it, and this is one of those things that happens from not talking about it, right? Like, I got the story from our sister, and I got the story from my brother, but they're two different stories from two different perspectives. And as I'm about to tell you, our sister was older. I mean, she's still older than him. So, the perspective of an older child, they know a little bit more about that. But this is one of those insidious things that nobody really knows even necessarily the whole story, because we don't sit down and talk about these things as a general rule in our society, and all together, right? It just had happened, as they were kind of filling me in on family history and whatnot. But apparently they hadn't really talked about this between themselves.
I mean, she's what? So was she a year older than you, or
no, she's 3 years older than
you?
us.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
she's in that particular, that's actually a significant age
Yes,
gap.
at that point, yeah,
At that
absolutely.
point, yeah.
Yeah.
And so what she said was your mom had actually, this had been, and this is by the way, this is, if you are someone who is watching right now and you are living with somebody like our father, please do exactly the fuck as his mother did, because this is how you do it. She had all of her ducks in a row. She had all of the paperwork for the restraining order filled out. She had done every single thing that she needed to do so that the very next time there was a violent incident like that, bam, fucking done.
Yeah.
Right. So everything got filed. So it is really, really, really important for everybody's safety, especially if you've got, kids. I mean, obviously, put on your own oxygen mask and first and all that. But like in a situation like that, where you've got somebody who's this kind of volatile, who will, I'm never gonna see Sweeney Todd the same again, which is actually really sort of ironic. But like the whole thing with the, with the
strap,
barber
yeah.
strap,
Laser
right?
strap.
Like
Yeah.
now you took the joy out of the barber strap.
And what's funny is I still
Now.
use strops. I love knives. I do all that stuff. Like it was
Really?
fucked up as kids, but yeah, I'm like, whatever.
Wow.
Compartmentalize and
Still-
shove that shit down.
Keep moving.
Oh my
Sounds
God.
healthy.
I know, right? It's very helping.
But yeah, so
Gotta
anyway, so
cope while
what?
you can.
Oh man, compartmentalize and dissociate. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Yeah, I'm happy. What are you talking about?
I'm fine.
You make it sound like it's a bad thing. God. I
But
know,
that
right?
is-
So
But realistically, that is something that we do talk about a lot with families who are
Mhm.
dealing with, especially like raising these kids.
Yeah.
Is you can't really stop and unpack all that while you're still trying to survive. So being
No.
able
No.
to do that is an important survival skill.
it
Oh,
is.
yeah.
It is. Otherwise, the microevolution, it's a thing, and as far as like survival and figuring out how to live in life and not be scarred from things like that, it's important for the brain to do that, and it's natural.
Well,
So,
and-
And humor, as you saw, we do lots and lots of humor to help survive and keep from going woohoo.
I think the other thing too is what we're all doing right here, right? Is humor. You must
Oh, oh my God. Well, okay, at least I'm consistent.
develop gallows humor if you're gonna get through this intact.
100%.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't learn how to laugh at this stuff and have a sense of humor about it, you're gonna lose your damn mind. And I mean that literally, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm not. You will end up going, bibbledy like the Reavers at the end of space, and hope nobody's watched Serenity but like the four of us, right? Like.
Oh, there's a lot of people. It was a fancy
I
show.
know,
Everybody
I was-
loved that shit.
I know it was just it was a cult reference, so I was obviously
It's a good one, though.
the four of us. Oh,
It's
so
okay.
amazing.
If they don't know, they can Google it.
Yeah, and they'll watch it and they'll
Yeah.
realize they love it. It's fine.
You'd be like, it's amazing. But you know what? Actually, that's
Seriously though, if you're not familiar with Serenity and Firefly, go make yourself familiar with that, and you will thank me later.
really interesting because spoiler for anybody who maybe doesn't want to hear this part, but like the whole way. Okay, I'm trying to phrase this in a way that I don't totally spoiler it, but I do think it was really it is a little bit interesting that the Reavers come from that 10% of people who sort of had the ab reaction to the thing, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where that came from. So that actually may be a little prescient from Joss Whedon's perspective, or on his part rather.
Probably so. Probably
Like-
so.
I mean, is it actually 10%? I think it might be.
Something like that. Yeah, it was like, hey, they had an adverse reaction to this thing. Everybody else died. These people just became insane.
Yep.
Like
Well, and not just insane,
anti-vaxxers.
but it's the sadistic part, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that was where I actually wonder now. I mean, and this is, by the way, like a super healthy curiosity about like this really weird shit. Like this will also help get you through, right? So the thing I was about to ask is, I wonder what percentage of the population actually does have sadism. And how would we measure that? So my brain
Right.
starts kind of, but it's, I mean, it is kind of important, right? Because we say this is rare, but it's only rare in the
Relative to
ones,
what?
Right.
right? Well,
Fair.
and
No.
a friend of mine once said that, jail isn't full of criminals. Jail is full of criminals who were stupid enough to get caught,
That one.
which I mean is not necessarily wrong. So, how many other people out there who have, I mean, so actually this is a really good time to, and we didn't put this in our notes, but um, when thinking, and well, this will probably, anybody who understands anything about psychopathy, this will be like zero fucking shock. But given the history that you've already heard, you'll be like, yeah, of course. But it's, I mean, obviously, I'm not qualified to diagnose anybody with psychopathy or administer the PCLR or any of that stuff. But given the givens, I think our dad would have scored either a 40 out of 40 or a prorated 38 out of 38 on the PCLR. The only reason being that there was no revocation of conditional release because he never got caught. Right.
Well, so I mean, he did with the whole kid thing, but then he also got the opportunity because they asked my mom. They said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And she's like, "Well, I need to support these 4 kids, so let him out so he can work, so that he can support these 4 kids." So instead of throwing his ass in the slammer, he got the opportunity to get released so that he could support his family, and then disappeared off the face of the planet.
See, this is another thing that I didn't know before. I had absolutely no idea that, I had no idea that he had even been like booked in with the police, with the dinner table incident when he threatened to stab my little brother in the stomach because he wouldn't eat his food.
Right.
Sounds about right.
Of course.
Yep.
Although I don't, it's really like, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I would say I don't necessarily know that I would count that because he wasn't arrested. I mean, yes, domestic violence is technically a crime, but like he only did that only happened because your mom had so brilliantly, set all her ducks up in a row.
Yeah.
As opposed to like he wasn't in the system. He wasn't like a known drug dealer or a known felon or a known anything. Like nobody in the system was smart enough to catch him. It was your mom that was like, I'm gonna get all of this stuff in there, right? And so he was kind of off there, really.
He was off the radar for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's out there cooking fucking crystal meth, and nobody has any idea.
And if they had dug at that point and were like throwing the book at him and doing that, it would have come up in discovery, you would imagine, because they would go to the facility, they would see what he was doing, they'd be like, oh God, this guy this guy that. Maybe he would have been smart enough to dodge most of that and only spend 6 months to a year and then get out and do stuff like that. Who knows? Because I don't know what the time frame was there in the 90s and or what the laws were, or what all of the criminality charges and the time spent and all that other stuff. But the fact was he got off easy because of the hope that he would be there to support his family and work and do stuff like that.
I feel like that is probably something that happens a lot. People getting off easy because of the hope that they will be there and support the family. And I don't have any statistics like that on that. But just off the top of my head, I would imagine that probably is, probably happens more often than it probably should, because he didn't end up, kind of sticking around and doing that. He took off.
And nope. That's it. Yeah, he was gone. And then like we came home one day, there was a skateboard for me, there was a basketball for Alex, and apparently he had been outside of the elementary school, and my little brother saw him, and like he waved at him, and then my little brother like scuttled home and was like really traumatized. He was like, "Oh my God, I saw Dad," blah blah blah. And but he was the only one that saw him in the interim, and then until he just like vanished off of the face of the earth. Come to find out that he was 30 miles away in Elizabeth, Colorado, shacking up with some girl, using drugs a lot, had died of who knows what. It was a heart attack. He had tumors all up in his back and stuff, and enlarged heart. All the drug use. Yep, lots of shit in the system. Chronic alcohol abuse.
Yeah, I'm all for palliative care, but pretty sure that cocaine is not like you're not doing coke on your deathbed because it takes away the.
No, it's not for pain, it's for fun.
I mean, maybe his nose hurt. Maybe.
He probably just liked the smell. I don't know.
It's really interesting. Though,
more gallows humor.
You said something that's really you said something that I think is really, really important to highlight here. You said that he was given this chance because, gosh darn it, he needed to provide for his family and be a father and all of this stuff. But sometimes the best thing a parent can do is go the fuck away and never come back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there are so many, and I'm not, obviously, spoiler alert, I'm big on the redemption story arcs, and I absolutely believe in redemption, right? But
absolutely,
like, sometimes there is this. Often there is this like parental blindness that the system has, right? Where they're like, they're gonna be plucky good like we're gonna turn them around, so we're just gonna give you a second chance and a third chance and a fourth chance and a 15th chance, and by gosh you're gonna do right by these kids one day, right? And you're just like, no, just make them go away and stop letting them traumatize us, please. Thank you very much.
It would have been more helpful, and it was helpful for us.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I was just saying, you can't begin to heal from the thing if the thing is still happening.
Right.
Yeah, true.
Absolutely. So we've been covering the background, the lived experience for context, but you mentioned the how much the role that nature has. So can you give us some examples of that?
Oh, yes, we have notes. Real quick before I forget, you said something that you guys were sitting at the kid. Like, did you guys just have a kids table in the house at all times? Was that like I'm trying to find fuck tact. Was that because you needed to have a kids table because you were children and were not fit to sit at the same table as your parents, or was it legit like a space thing that made ergonomic sense or whatever?
It was right outside of the kitchen, so it was easier for my mom to just bring us food. And so there was the big table that the parents the adults would sit at, but the big table and the chairs were too high for the kids. So we had a little shorter table. It had a little plastic covering on it, and I think it was ladybugs. It was red with like little ladybugs on it.
Gotcha.
And then 4 chairs for the kids to sit at. So yeah, it was just the kids table. where we sat to eat because it was easier to clean up. It was easier to bring food to us. And it was actually more functional for us to eat at instead of having to like kneel on the chairs to eat the food at the big table because we, just weren't quite big enough to do that.
Mine
Gotcha.
was
So
Winnie
it's
the Pooh.
functional,
It
not
was a little
punitive.
wood table. It was so cute.
I can never tell with I can never tell when something was practical or abusive in your house.
True.
There may also be some overlap.
Yeah.
There could have been a little disdain. Well, the kids don't get to sit at the adults' table. There has to be a delineation here.
And that's actually that's really interesting. So I remember in oh God, what's his name? David Wood. Who, by the way, I totally apologize, you guys. He bludgeoned his father to death with a claw hammer when he was 18, not 15. I apologize for that earlier misinformation. But one of the things, and I actually went and tried to find on his YouTube channel. I tried to find some of those old like references to parenting videos, but most of his stuff is discussing Christianity and Islam, and I couldn't find it. But one of the things that I remember in one of the videos of his that I watched is because people will reach out to him and be like, what should I do if I have a child like you? And one of the things he actually said was, a little bit of that, cut them down to size, remind them that they ain't shit, right? Like, make sure, because they're going to walk around like, I'm better than everybody, right? And so he said it, remind them that they aren't. And so I think, probably for people who don't have children like that, don't go around telling your kids they ain't shit. Like, that's not good. But sometimes you need to, knock them down a little peg. And I'm just gonna tell the story anyway, and I don't care. People are gonna say whatever the fuck they're gonna say. But so my kid was in acting for a while, and there was a movie being filmed across the street from our house at one point, which we had nothing to do with. But anyway, they're filming, and it was like, oh man, I don't remember who it was or what movie it was, but it was like one of the really, really, really big name, like big name stars, right? Like huge freaking deal. And they were filming, and kids like, trying to peek in and see what's going on. And then, one of the PAs or the grips or, whatever is like, oh, okay, we need to start filming. So you need to clear the area. And immediately my kid's like, well, I do this too. It was just like that. Do you have any idea who I am? Sort of posture, right? And then he's like, well, I'm an actor and I do this too. What was I in, Mom? Like, he couldn't even remember. Like, he's trying to posture and he can't even remember. But I love though that he thinks Mom's gonna back him up. And I just looked at him and I went, boy, you ain't shit. And he was just like, what? And I was like, you were a little, bit day player for a freaking Ron Howard pilot, and your scene didn't even get included. Don't you be walking around like, and you were fucking Taft-Hartley, like you didn't even have a fucking line. Like, I just went off on him. Like, if you really knew, right? If you really were an actor and understood all this, you would understand that you need to get out of the way when they need to film, right? Like, you would not be puffing up your. He was just like, oh, it's like, Mom, that was really mean. And I was like, yeah, but don't you be walking around here like you think, you're some like massive star when you are not. Like, oh, hell no. But I will tell you, he never pulled that shit again. He never pulled that again, but he just was like, whoa, what the hell? And so, of course,
again, don't do that to your kids if your kids are, relatively normal. That's not, that's just, that's parenting when your child has insane amounts of grandiosity.
Now everybody's going to be like, well, no wonder that child ended up that way if he had a mother who talked to him like that. And why did I go off on right, the thing about the tables, because the kids' tables, and, sometimes that might be like the abusiveness and the practicality, right? Like, I would never say something like that to a normal child, right? It was just like that little, did it the one time, never did it again, right? It was one of those in the moment things, but it worked. Like, it stopped that overinflated, egotistical thing where he was just walking around like, I'm the king of the fucking universe, which, by the way, let's just, as a brief aside, Hollywood is the worst place for that character trait. Oh my God, do they enable the fuck out of that?
It's amplified.
Yeah, massively amplified. Right. So you were asking about and this is perfect, actually perfect segue.
Well, real
Environment.
quick, can I add something to
like,
what you just said about your parenting
what was
strategy with
nature
him?
and nurture?
Was the
Again, apologize. I was not like, my headphones were like, there was a crazy ass delay. I couldn't hear like half of what was being said. It was not a good time.
one thing, because I've had a lot. Can you hear me? Yeah, I don't think Lily can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Is that
No,
I've had a lot of people, since we've been doing these videos, I have a lot of people asking like what my parenting advice is for parents who have children like mine. And the first thing I say is, you have to accept honestly the child you have. Parent the child you have. You cannot treat these children the same way that you treat, children with other, neurology. You just can't. The response is it's just not going to work. And you're going to escalate the situation, and it's going to become dangerous much more quickly.
Yeah.
You have to parent the child you have, not the child you wish you had.
And that's like, that is such good advice from Summer. It is like, that's one of the hardest things for parents, is to have to come to terms with, with the child that they have, right? Like, you go into parenting and and this happens to a certain degree with most parents whose children have disabilities, right? Like, there's some sort of grief process where you have to, like, come to terms with, oh my God, this isn't the child that I had dreamed of having, and now I have to have, a child with special needs, and I have to have different expectations and all of that stuff. But I think it's way harder with parents of children on the psychopathy spectrum, because we're like, it's not even a thing, right? Like, we don't even know that this is something that is a possibility. And so this isn't, like, it's not part of the parenting conversation. Like, hey, and just so there is this chance that the kids could turn out like this, right? And so we have this, and this is part of the problem that we deal with as parents, right? Is that we have these ideals and like these sort of almost like fairy tale ways that we look at our kids, right? Because of course all kids are wonderful and kind and empathetic, and they're only hurt people, and if if they're not nice every single second of the day, like they're just those poor little babes. Like somebody hurt them, right? Like it's a very it's a very heavy thing for parents to have to come to terms with and like look at your kid and like watch your kid hurting other kids or hurting you or hurting their siblings and have to come to terms with like, oh my God, like they are doing this on purpose. This is not like, it's not an autistic meltdown. It's not a temper tantrum. Like it's a really, really hard thing to have to come to grips with. So like what Summer said about, parent the child you have, like one of my favorite quotes by the Loneliest Monk, simple ain't easy, right? It's simple, but it ain't easy.
And
Yeah.
sometimes to people on the outside,
I mean,
that
that's-
does look, shocking or outrageous, but it is what it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's great advice.
Right.
Amazing
Yeah,
advice.
I mean, and that's I love the way you phrase that, by the way. I mean, I give, well, so here's something that's really interesting, right? You and I ended up at the exact same strategy, worlds apart, right? Like when you came to parents of children with conduct disorder, like you had already figured out all the shit that I would have taught you, right? So like you came to those same conclusions. And I love the way that you phrase that, right? Parent the child you have. I mean, I get a little more, nerdy and scientific, right? Which is you have to like, and Ben and I were talking about this last night when we talk about epigenetics, right? Epigenetics like literally translates roughly as roughly. Wow. Okay. Yay. Anyway, but it translates as on top of genetics, right? And it's sort of like, on top of Old Smoky, you got to have Old Smoky to have something on top of Old Smoky, right? Like you have to have the thing underneath the thing before, like it matters. The effect that an environment is going to have on a thing depends on very much on what the thing is, right? Like it's gonna be very, very different depending on, like if you try to
Oh my God. Really? You're coming in the middle of my recording?
Oh, that you're recording right now?
Yes, I'm recording right now.
Oops. I didn't know that.
I was wondering what you were doing. That's my husband, everybody.
heat ice, it's gonna turn in.
I can't believe. Oh my God, he's just dancing in the background. Oh, that's amazing. Although now I want to make a man versus bear joke.
To liquid, but if you try to heat liquid, it's going to turn into gas, right? Like it matters what the thing is before you start trying to figure out how the environment's going to affect it. And you're so right. You can't. Like I said, I would never have said anything like that to another child, but given the givens, right? Like you have to parent the child you have, not the child you wish you had, right? Like it's not, you can't.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And to be sure you never miss an upload, make sure you turn your notifications on. And please come join us on social media so we can continue these conversations in between episodes. You'll find us at Hypoxia Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Hi everyone.
And by the way, that story that I told about the thing that was filming across the street from our house, like that was one of those things that I like had told myself, like, no, I'm never going to tell that story on camera. Like people absolutely would not understand. And then, as I was talking to Summer and Carrie and Ben, then I apparently had no more fucks to give about that and just decided to share the story.
Summer.